Hello everyone, welcome to the another episode of Digital Marketing Gyaan podcast, where we bring you actionable insights and the latest trends from industry leaders. Today, we are diving into a powerful conversation aligning content messaging with funnel intent at every stage. Our guest for today is Wenberg, the founder of FactMethod.com. Zeph is a seasoned marketing strategist with educator with over 15 years of experience helping brands scale their sharper messaging. Before launching Fact Method, he helped drive growth at brands like Lead Pages, Zify and Sales Chemistry. In today's episode, we will explore how marketers can craft content and stories that align perfectly with every stage of the funnel, from first click to the final conversion. Zeph, a warm welcome on our show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So, to start our conversation, can you let the audience know a bit about yourself, about your interest into the marketing and especially into the content?
Yeah, so I've been doing this for quite a long time, as you mentioned, and done all like literally every piece of the marketing pie, so to speak, which has kind of led me to really honing in on what I really like to do and what I'm good at, which is all around crafting enrollment stories and really creating messaging that gets people to understand what you do and then also build demand for the services and offers that you have.
So to start with our the discussion for the topic that we have seen that many brands generally have that funnel, okay, but the problem is their content does not reflect the actual intent of the user at each and every stage. So what do you think, why does this exist and what is the solution for that?
Yeah, I think really a huge reason why the funnels just don't work in general is usually they just don't really have stories that work for each stage of it. Most people that, at least that I've seen when I'm talking with like clients and stuff, is they're trying to use one message for the entire funnel. And yes, like you should have a messaging ecosystem that works for the entire funnel, but like you need to realize where you're at in the funnel and also what you're asking people to do. So let's say if it's a piece of content and you're wanting people to click through to get something, that's a story that you need to tell to get them to move to the next piece. Once they're there, there's a story they need to hear to move them into either downloading or buying. And then once they've done that, like you're always continuing to tell an enrollment story to enroll them into the next step of your funnel. And I feel like that's the main reason why most businesses struggle to actually convert leads and cold traffic is they just don't really have good enrollment stories that move people through their funnels. And the main reason that this gap exists, just from my experience, like this may not be 100% accurate across the board, but from everyone I've talked to and from trying to do this on my own and all of that kind of stuff over the last 15 years, usually it's like because the person building the funnel who is like the expert in whatever it is they're trying to sell, they are already like so far down the path that they can't really remember what it was like when they were like new into the process or when somebody new is coming in, so they don't connect the gap to where somebody's at currently. They just speak with like root causes and they speak with things that they already know when the person that's just starting the journey is probably completely unaware of all of those things.
Got it. So yeah, you were mentioning about the stage at which the user is, and then based on that the communication should be there. So can you just elaborate to the audience like how should the messaging should differ at the different stages, that is the top, the middle and the bottom of the funnel?
Yeah, so the thing that like we always want to look at is what is their awareness, what are they currently doing, what is like all of the environmental things that are happening, so and then just sell the next step. Really the thing that most people miss is like from first step to last step, they're trying to sell the last step from the first touch. And it's like you always just want to move people to the next step. One step is all you need to focus on. So if it's content, where are you sending people from that content? It could be to more content, it could be to a landing page, whatever. Once they're on your page, It could be opt-in, it could be to buy something, it could be whatever, but just like we don't need to focus from like one piece of content all the way to like, buying something. If you're running a buyer campaign, that's a different story. Like, yes, those would be focused on people that already know you, like you, trust you. So then like your messaging can be different. But essentially when you're at like the top of funnel or like the coldest, you really need to focus in the messaging so it resonates with what is currently going on in their world, what's going on in their head, what are they experiencing, what are they trying to do to solve the problems that they're looking for solutions to, all of that kind of stuff, and call that out so that they can self-select and be like, oh, that's totally me that this person is talking to. And then as you go through the middle and the bottom, that's when you can like get a little bit more nuanced and focused on your specific strategies and discrediting other strategies and all of that kind of stuff. But like we don't want to start there because that's not going to attract anyone into our ecosystem when they might hear something and just be like, oh, well, that doesn't really revolve around me, or like I don't have any kind of like connection to that.
So can you just help us, like help the audience with some example of, what should be a different communication at the different stages?
Yeah, so I mean, a really good example, to just highlight this entire thing is what most coaches, clients, or online courses, online businesses do that I've seen is, like let's say you're dying of thirst. You're like out in the desert and you're just like, oh my gosh, I am so thirsty. I would give my right arm to have like a cup of water. What most people that aren't able to convert cold traffic are doing is like, they're saying, hey, are you dying of thirst? I have this gold cup with rubies, diamonds. It's encrusted with like, 24 karat gold, something like that. Or maybe it's made out of solid gold. Would you like to buy it? And they're just completely unaware of the person that they're talking to. Where like what we actually need to change is, hey, person dying of thirst, I can show you in 5 minutes or less how to find water right out in this desert. And I'll also throw in a coffee can for you to drink it out of. Are you interested? That's all of a sudden hyper relevant to what they're experiencing. So that's like what we need to do with our content, with our messaging, is focus it in on what the things that they're experiencing are, and not on all of the features and benefits of our program or our service, because nobody wants another program or another service. They want the thing that they're looking to solve. Like in this example, it would be, I just want some water. I could care less what the vessel I'm drinking it out of is. So that's what we need to focus our messaging on, like pretty much all the way through. But the only difference is, depending on what stage you're going through, is like the finding, like the water could be something different. So at the top of funnel, it might just be like, hey, get this chat prompt. In the middle, it might be, hey, get my marketing dashboard to track your KPIs. On the bottom of funnel, it could be, hey, get my program, which will insert whatever transformation that you offer.
Okay. So you have given this, with a great example. Now, you also might have seen that there have been a lot of content issues out there, like people have not planned out there. So can you help with some real world examples where you have seen this content realignment dramatically have improved the conversions? If there are some case studies, we would love to hear from you.
Yeah. So the thing that I work with my clients on is just like making sure that you're clear on all of the stuff we've been talking about. Because a lot of times when, people aren't able to convert cold traffic, it also ultimately comes down to they're not really clear on what they're doing, what their offer actually does for people. It's always like, well, it kind of is like this thing, and then it's always like hemming and hawing and not super clear. They're not super confident. So that's step one, is like you need to be clear and in alignment with what your offer does for people. And is that what you actually want to go to market with? And once you're clear there, then you can just chunk it up and chunk it down based on what part of the marketing funnel you're working on to make sure that it all is aligned. Because essentially what we don't want to have happen is like, your content's saying one thing, when they opt in for your email, it's saying something else. And then like when you're trying to sell them, it's something completely different. You want it to all like just naturally progress so that you can, like just bring somebody through that. And how to ensure you do that is, it's essentially like working backwards. Once you're confident and clear on what it is that you're actually offering people. And I do want to mention, like, a lot of people would probably be like, well, yeah, I'm clear. But it's surprising how, like, I had a client where he was doing, a month, and he actually couldn't really explain to me in like one sentence what transformation he provided for his clients. He knew what he did for them, but he didn't really know what that service did for his clients until after we started working together. And then once he got that, he was like, oh my gosh, I was focused over on point A when actually all my clients are saying it's point B. So we just moved his messaging over to point B, and then up the funnel, it just gets less specific and more like less specific on our stuff and more specific on them. So it's always specific on them, but as you go further into the funnel, that's when you can get more specific on like your program and the transformation it offers, how it ties into their specific problems. But most people, when they're just seeing an ad, or if they're just, seeing your organic content like for the first time, they're not going to want to hear about your program or your offer. They want to know how what you are talking about is going to solve the problem they're actively looking for a solution to.
Right.
So does that make sense? Essentially, the higher up in the funnel you get, the less specific about you it is.
Now, one of the major problems which I have seen upon even in my clients out there is that people are producing a lot of content nowadays. And with the emergence of AI, producing content has become super easy nowadays.
Yep.
So, how do you think that in this atmosphere where there's a lot of crowd out there, where there's kind of lot of noise, in that case, how one can ensure that the consistent messaging goes into the different funnel entry point, whether it might be on the email, whether it might be on the paid ads, whether it might be on the organic or any other activity?
Yeah, so just essentially like how are we, like creating content that kind of aligns there?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So the one thing I always recommend everybody does is talk to people. And I know that sounds like so basic, but if you just use like AI tools or whatever to create all your content, it's going to be pretty good, but the nuance that you pick up when you talk to somebody is going to be so different than what AI can generate. And so like 10 people, it's like really all it takes, and you're going to start seeing patterns, and you're going to start seeing the same things being said. It might not be exactly the same, but it'll be like in general, like this thing keeps coming up, and then you listen to like the words they're using, and you literally use those in your content, in your emails, in your ads. Like you literally copy and paste their words, because a lot of times they can say it better than you can. And what we do as coaches and experts in online businesses a lot of times is we'll summarize what people say, and then we say it a different way, and it's like, no, literally just use their words. Because if they're saying this is likely what somebody else who is also like them is saying. So talk to your perfect clients, whoever that might be, find out what their problems are, what they're actually wanting, like what is the end result you want? What are you doing to try and solve this problem? All of that kind of stuff. And then if you have clients, talk to them. Hey, what would you say I did for you? Like, how would you describe it to your friends? And hear how people are describing what you offer, so that you get feedback from buyers as well. So then you can also mold those two together across everything. And then that's how it's essentially just like you go from, content where it doesn't really work to, oh man, it's starting to resonate with people by just literally talking to people and then using what they tell you to create more content.
Yeah. So, since you have been working with a lot of clients, so can you also help us with some of the tools or the feedback mechanism, that you can recommend for identifying where the content might be misaligning with the buyer intent? If there's any, any mechanism by which the users, we as the marketers, can check upon that, okay, is this into the right way, or there has to be some change that has to be done?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things. So it can come down to manual things or AI tools, but like really your feedback mechanism is like, if you post something, does it get any views? Does it get any comments? Does it get any likes? That's the ultimate thing, because if it doesn't, then that's essentially, okay, something's off here. You can also, use ChatGPT or AI tools to assess and just have it function like a messaging expert or anything, like however you want to do it, and just have it assess your content to tell it, or to have it tell you like, oh yeah, it's totally misaligned, because you could tell it who your buyers are, what their, all the persona stuff, and be like, hey, does this align with that person? And that's another way to do it. The other way, again, is just talking to people. Like, as you're coming up with new ways of talking about your program or whatever, talk to the person in line behind you at the restaurant or whatever, and just see if you can explain it to somebody who's not in your market, and to the point where they understand it. Because if you can actually explain it to somebody who absolutely wouldn't buy, and they get it in like 2 minutes or less, that's a sign that you're on to messaging where it's like, okay, this is easy to understand and they see the value. So those are like 3 ways that I usually kind of recommend. It's a lot of just having conversations, because like this day and age, people are so afraid to talk to people, but that's where most of the gold comes from. So essentially, your content on social media, just post it. If it doesn't do anything, most likely it's because it's not good enough. It doesn't resonate well enough. It's not dialed into what your audience is searching for. And then talk to your clients, customers, and talk to people that are in your market, and then talk to people just wherever, like on a podcast as an example. Try things out, see if it resonates. Do you get any comments back? You know, all of that kind of stuff. Take all of those data points to help you figure out where it's misaligned and then get it back into alignment.
Very rightly you have said upon, and that is one of the major things that we see upon, that is missing out there. It's like when I have seen upon, nowadays when we say about social media is all about having a two-way communications out there. But we see that people, what they generally do upon, they take their post and keep on posting out there. They do not interact with the user. They do not, kind of comment on any other post out there. That is the reason why the engagement will not be having. So that's the right thing that you have mentioned upon. We have also to have a discussion. We also need to have a talk with the people out there to understand that what are their problem areas. And based on that, if we provide our communications out there, then definitely that will be helping in terms of getting the, the right way of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so now let's say if we just focus on the SaaS-based companies out there, or which is more towards the B2B or the service-based business specifically, what are the common funnel messaging mistakes that you have observed?
Yeah, I would say the biggest, messaging mistakes I see most often are not being clear enough on what is the thing that you do for people. Like, what transformation do you provide? Whether that's SaaS, whether that's coaching, service, whatever, it's all the same. And when things aren't working, it's usually because people don't understand the value of whatever it is that you're trying to sell. And so like when looking at any funnels, usually it's like, what does it, because people try to be like cutesy and markety, when it's like, just use plain language and tell people what it is this thing is and what it's going to do for them. It's so simple, yet most people like struggle with, I even struggle with that sometimes. So like I have people that look at my stuff and I have them tell me like, yeah, quit being so cutesy and just be more obvious. Like, make it simple, make it clear, instead of, trying to make it sound like marketing. Just make it sound like you were talking to somebody like you and I are talking. And I would say that's probably the biggest thing, is they bury the actual value in like a paragraph, like 3/4 of the way down the page, when that should be the thing that's like front and center on the top of fold page.
Got it. So you have given a lot of advice today. Those will be definitely very beneficial for our audience. Any last piece of advice that you would like to give to the content marketers who are looking to make their messaging more intentional and conversion friendly?
Yeah, I would just say, like I mentioned earlier, just make sure you're talking to people who are your ideal customer and really understanding the things that are driving what they're looking for. So what problems are they currently experiencing and how do they talk about the problems? What are they actively looking, I call them like action-oriented problems, like what are they actively out there looking to solve? And then what are they doing to try and solve that problem, so that you can use all of that information to create content that calls those types of people out, without saying, hey, are you a coach or course creator, or are you a SaaS business, or are you this? But like, you could say, hey, are you tired of your sales team not, delivering on their KPIs? Or are you tired of your kids not eating the foods that you make for them every night? Like, you want to like call out the things that they're currently experiencing, so then that way they're going to be like, oh yeah, that's like a red flag or like a red alarm going off of like, oh, pay attention, this is something that is in your current experience. That's the easiest way to get attention, is to know what those kind of triggers are.
So Jeff, this has been an incredible valuable conversation. Your insights into content alignment, intent-driven storytelling, and real-world funnel strategy are a masterclass in the modern market. Thank you once again for joining us today. Listeners, remember, content isn't just about creativity, it's about context. Until next time, this is Prince Kumar signing off from the Digital Marketing Gyaan podcast, bringing you the best of digital marketing wisdom from industry leaders worldwide. Thank you.